Hello everyone, and welcome to Crawford Technologies Lunch and Learn session. Accessibility Now, a simple solution for making documents accessible. My name is Jane Black, and I am the accessibility lead for Crawford Technologies outside of North America. And I've got a short agenda today, so I wanted to start with a little bit of background on us and where we sit in terms of documents and accessibility. Then an introduction, give you an introduction to the AccessibilityNow platform, which is Crawford Tech's platform. And then really talk to you about a simple solution for addressing document accessibility. And then I'll leave a few minutes at the end for any questions that you might have. So to start off about documents and accessibility, I wanted to give everyone a bit of context. So our history is that we are a software and solutions company, and we've been in what you might call the document business for about 27 years. And what that really means is that we've been helping organizations to optimize and improve what they do with their documents in order that they can improve the way they communicate with their customers. And that takes many forms. So it might be something at scale, like helping a company convert all the documents that were intended for print to digital presentations. It might be helping them manipulate and move elements around on a document page.
Sorry, Jane, just to check, it says that you're on mute, but I'm able to hear you, but some of our attendees today cannot hear you. Could you just check if you're on mute, please?
Okay, I won't be on, unless there's something in the session, I won't be on mute because you wouldn't be able to hear me. I haven't muted anything.
I can see it on your screen. Let me just double check.
So, Klaus, I wasn't sure, do you have a presentation that you'll be sharing?
It seems, it does say you're on mute on screen share. I don't know.
Will I come out and go back in again from the beginning?
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. I don't mind. It's just I can't obviously see anything else because all I can see is so there's some mute audio here, which is not. Now it's muted and now it's open.
No, I think that's okay. Please play again. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Sorry about that technical hitch, folks. Let me get my presentation back up for you all. Hi guys, so hopefully you can all hear me this time and welcome to Crawford Technologies Lunch and Learn session, Accessibility Now, a simple solution for making documents accessible. My name is Jane Black. I'm the accessibility lead for Crawford Technologies in the rest outside of North America, so what we call the rest of the world. And I've got a short agenda for you today, which will take a look at our history in documents and accessibility. I'll introduce you to our AccessibilityNow platform, talk you through how it's a really simple solution for delivering accessible documents, and then leave a few minutes for any questions at the end. So to give you a little bit of our history, we have been in what you might call the document business for about 27 years. And really what that means is that we've been helping our customers optimize and improve the way that they communicate with their customers by helping them optimize and improve their documents. And that might be things like helping them repurpose documents that were meant for print so that they can be displayed digitally. It might be helping them manipulate documents or move elements around on a page. Or it might be optimizing high volumes of documents for archive storage and things like that. So that's really our history in the document business. And we have worked for 27 years with a number of different customers across all sectors. We're really proud to have some of the world's largest banks and insurance companies in our customer base, but we also deal with government and education and healthcare as well. And about 14 years ago, we started to move into the document accessibility space, mainly motivated by the fact that a number of our customers had begun to ask us about whether or not we could do things with their documents to make sure they were suitable for example, people using screen readers or things like that. So that's really our history, where we come from. We've applied lots of what we learned in our 27 years into developing our accessible document solutions, and we've been helping companies produce things like accessible PDF, also accessible HTML, and also helping some organizations to automate some of their production of Braille, large print, and audio. Now, when we talk about documents, particularly when we're looking at the correct accessibility solutions, we divide the documents into two categories. So we talk about static documents and transactional documents. Now, for anybody who's unfamiliar with those terms, static documents are really documents that are authored by an individual, let's say. So somebody creating a document on their workstation, or maybe they might be doing it in Word, they might be doing it in something like InDesign, but single documents that are created once and then might be used in multiple places, like a website. They might be information documents that are included with emails, or they might be stored as training or course material, something like that. So that's what static documents are. They differ from what we call transactional documents. And transactional documents are really things where elements on the page will change. So a typical example of something like a transactional document in the wider world is something like a bank or a credit card statement. So you might have the same layout for all of your customers, but the information in that document regarding personal details, account details, address, that type of thing will change, and so will transactions, depending on the customer. Now, another type of transactional document is something like a high volume letter. So you may send a letter out to multiple students, to multiple customers, to multiple patients, and there may be minor changes within that letter, but the main body of the document would remain the same. And that's what we call transactional documents. And the reason I'm talking about those two is that when we come on to looking at some of the solutions, there are different solutions depending on whether we're talking about static documents or transactional documents. So let me introduce you to the AccessibilityNow platform. Now, anybody who cannot see the screen, essentially there's a large blue wheel on the screen with multiple shades of blue, and it's divided into 11 segments, each one of which represents a component within the AccessibilityNow platform. And you can also see here there are different formats, as I mentioned before, HTML, PDF, Braille, large print and audio, also e-text, which is something that's still used as well as an alternate format. And it's divided into whether the solution is related to a transactional document or a static document. But that's just an intro. I'm not going to go through that whole series of components today, because that's quite a lot to fit into a short presentation. So I just wanted to give you a short peek at that. But if I was going to describe what the AccessibilityNow platform really is, there's a few ways that we would describe it. One, it's a post-composition platform. Now, what does that mean? That's a lot of fancy words. Essentially, it means that it's a platform that allows you to address documents that have already been created. It's also a complete solution, and it has modular components. So if you have no ability to create accessible documents, whether they're transactional or static, you can use this to help you in all stages of the process. But if you have some of that already covered, you can pick and choose the modular components that would help you in the areas where you're lacking. As I said before, there are static and transactional document tools within our platform. And one of the things that is really, I think, distinct about what we do is that we do leverage a lot of AI and automation, and that is within our tools themselves, but also overall. One of the problems that we often find customers have is a lot of manual processes that take a lot of time, energy, and ultimately that means money. So automating those processes that can be automated really helps to speed up the process to getting accessible documents delivered to whoever you need to have them. It can integrate with, our platform can integrate rather with multiple content systems and workflows. So, you know, if you have documents stored in multiple places, or if you have workflows set up, enterprise workflows set up, for example, in large organizations, this platform can integrate at multiple points within that process. And it's a unique, we think, in that it allows you to process single documents, batches of documents, so high volumes of documents, as well as single documents. And also there are some options for some of the tools to have what we call dynamic processing. And that's where the document is converted into an accessible document at the point when it's being retrieved through something like a portal, that kind of thing. In terms of the outputs that you can get from AccessibilityNow, there are various options. Accessible Word, PDF, HTML, and then we also have XML output for the non-techies on the call. That may not mean very much, but certainly XML is useful if you want to then go on and produce some of those alternate formats like Braille, large print, and audio. Now, I said that I wanted to talk about accessibility, a simple solution for it, and that may have looked like quite a complicated platform. But really what it distills down into is three components, or what we call our find, test, and fix approach to accessibility. So when presented with the challenge of ensuring that you're delivering accessible documents to either your students, your customers, your users, first of all, organizations need to be able to know what documents they have and whether the documents they have are accessible. So the first tool that I wanted to talk about, or the first component of the platform, is one that allows you to search your website for documents. It allows you to search a virtual learning environment, a learning management system, or any other file system for documents too. And it allows you to build an inventory of your content. And for many organizations that we've dealt with, particularly when it comes to things like virtual learning environments or websites, that in itself can be very helpful. They may have multiple people uploading to a website or a platform. It may be difficult to know at any given time what's there, and particularly difficult to know if that content is accessible. You can automate this searching. So I'm calling it searching, really it's scanning. You can automate monthly scans so that you can keep on top of what content's going up and if that content is also accessible. That allows you to monitor progress over time. So one of the things that you can do is see, okay, so 6 months ago, 40% of the documents that we had in our learning management system or on our website were not accessible. Now it's only 20%, or it's only 1%, or it's 0%. So it allows you to monitor that progress over time. And it also helps you identify trends and issues. So one of the things that you can do by monitoring progress is identify, is there a particular part of the business or part of the university or part of whatever organization you are that seems to be struggling with with uploading accessible documents? And is there a training need there, for example? Is there a particular part of the business that does this very well, and can they provide support to other parts of the business? So it's really useful. Ultimately, you can find your documents, you can automate the process for scanning and checking, and get a really good idea of what you've got and whether or not it's accessible. Now, obviously, in order to be able to know that, you have to test those documents. You want to check them against, particularly if it's PDFs. I've picked PDF because that's often an issue for a lot of people. They may have a lot of PDFs. They're not sure whether or not they're accessible. You want to test those PDFs against various different standards. It's also useful to be able to download a detailed validation report. And on the back of the slide is an image of one of our validation reports that you can get on PDF documents. And you want to be able to download and review that content. You want to say, have a look at it, see if it's something that's still relevant, see if it's something that's essential to the business, see when it was authored, you know, all of those kind of things. And you want to be able to do those. And then you want to be able to, once you've identified that you've got these documents, these particular ones have passed the various automated tests that the various tests that you can automate, you want to be able to package the other ones up for remediation. So you might want to route those to an internal team. You might want to send them to a third-party provider that's remediating documents for you, or you might want to send them back to the author of the document themselves. And that's all possible within this testing portion of the platform. It's also important to mention that all of this is automated. So you can step in and look at, for example, detailed validation reports or download and review one particular document, but you can also have the whole thing automated and get just a report at the end of the process. And another important thing to mention is that this can be leveraged for batch or single documents. So often that you can test documents by singularly uploading them and checking them. This will actually check and test and validate batches of documents. And then after you've found your documents and you've tested your documents, ultimately you'll want to fix your documents. Now, you may want to send that out to a third-party service. You may have people inside that are doing it, however, as an alternative inside your organization that are doing it. And so the third part of the simple approach is to fix. And I wanted to just take a quick look at 3 different fixes that we've got here. The first is for PDF. So the platform provides a simple PDF remediation tool. It uses a piece of our trademark technology called AutoSense. So it pre-tags the document when you load it. There's an individual PDF. When you load it, it pre-tags it so that you can, half of the work is, well, half to 80% actually of the work is done already for you. And then in terms of the complex elements that you have within a document, so certainly when people are looking at PDFs, one of the things that often causes a lot of headaches is things like tagging tables. Those are, with AutoSense and with the AI that's built into the technology, it's very simple to tag those tables, and it gives you multiple options for linking columns to headers and rows and things like that. You can then save your project and the original file. So saving your project is good. If it's a 400-page document, you may not get through it in the hour or 2 that you have to do it. So you might want to save it for later. Alternatively, you may want to have multiple people working on the document, and you can pick up where you left off. And it also saves the original file. So if there's any problem, you haven't edited that original file. Within the fixing tool for PDF, there's also auto testing and validation, and it links to the validation report that you saw on the previous screen as well. And then you can output that to either an accessible PDF or an accessible PDF, which either meets WCAG or PDF UA standards. So that's how you can fix PDFs with a platform. If you want to fix Word, and this is a big one for organizations, particularly education, where you have a lot of academics who may need to make course content accessible, and they have specialist knowledge in their course subject, but not specialist knowledge in either Word or accessibility. And this is a great tool for people in that situation. Also for within organizations as well, where Word is the tool that's normally used to create documents for internal use. So it's a plugin for Microsoft Word. So it's fantastic. You can see at the top right above the About question mark, a little underlined tab called Wico. That is what the plugin is called. There is an easy to use accessibility wizard within it. So you can use this to guide you in creating the document, but you also can use this to address existing documents, whether that's one that was created 5 years ago or one that was created 5 minutes ago. And the accessibility wizard is a sort of 4-part process, which is very, very simple to use. And it guides you through a lot of it. It tells you, for example, if you have color contrast issues in the document, what color contrast, what other colors you could choose in order to remove that issue. You can get a validation report and you can check your document for accessibility at the end. What's interesting about the validation report here is that it can be customized. So if you have other organizational standards, for example, that you like to implement, so you've met the accessibility standards, but you have some additional organizational standards, those can be put into the tool as well, so that it will validate against those standards also. As I said, it can be used for new and existing documents. It can create both accessible Word and accessible PDF. So there are two outputs. You can create your accessible Word document, but you can also create a fully tagged and compliant PDF. And coming this year in this particular tool, we have the same capability coming to Excel and PowerPoint towards the end of the year as well. So that's fixing Word and PDF documents. Now, those type of documents were really what I was calling static documents before. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time for anyone on the call who's interested in transactional documents, talking about the tools that we have available in the platform for those. So for high volume customer documents, the transactional tools that we have are absolutely amazing. And high volume customer documents can be things like, statements, bills, that type of thing, insurance policy documents. But it could also be, like I say, high volume letters that are going out to people as well. And this approach is slightly different in that all of the setup for this is done prior to the solution running. So it's a templated, rules-based tagging approach that we take. And the image in the background here is of the templating tool that we use to do the setup. And what's great about it is that you are tagging elements of the page in terms of what accessibility tag they have, but you're also adding things called triggers, which mean that it can accommodate ebbs and flows of information in a document. It can accommodate changes in a document by the trigger process that you also set up. And it leverages AI as well. So in the same way that our PDF tool will pre-tag using our AutoSense technology, the transactional tool does the same as well. And this is fully automated. So once this is set up, there is no need to touch the document again unless there is a change to the accessibility requirements or suddenly the document's been redesigned and you need to tweak the template. But that will run as soon as it's set up, fully automated. And because of that, it can process hundreds and thousands of pages per second. So for organizations with small document requirements, that's not necessarily that important, but for large organizations who are processing hundreds and thousands or even millions of documents on a daily or monthly basis, that is important. Also interesting for those large organizations is that you can run this as either what we call a batch or an on-demand process. So a batch process is where you gather large quantities of documents and run them all through at the same time. So an example of this in the real world might be you want to take a batch of, let's say, bank statements that you've just produced. You want to make them all accessible, and then you want to store them in your archive. That's a batch process. On-demand processing, however, is different. That is where you want to wait until a document is requested, and at that point you can apply the accessibility automatically, the accessibility tags to that document within milliseconds before it's presented to the person that's requested that document via either a website or a banking app or something like that. And this
sorry, Jane, just to let you know, you've only got about a minute left.
It's the last section.
Oh, amazing.
So this solution can output PDF, accessible PDF. It can output accessible HTML, and it can also output XML, and that's useful for multiple reasons, but not least because it can then lead to the production of Braille, large print and audio as well. So that's my overview of the AccessibilityNow platform. I don't expect people to have taken all of that in. Please feel free to reach out to me if you'd like a sort of demo of any of those components, or you have more particular information that you'd like. But if anyone has any questions and I've got time, I'm happy to answer them.
There are a few questions, Jane. So one question was, does the site checker work on intranet?
Yes, it does. So any content store, yes. Sorry, I'm back. I've stopped sharing now, so. Yeah, okay, so no more questions?
One last question is can the system be plugged into the CRM like Salesforce?
So yeah, we would look at it on a case-by-case basis. There's lots of things about Salesforce that change depending on how you're operating it, how you're running it. But in theory, you can check any content store. So anywhere where content is stored, whatever that is, theoretically, it would be able to check it. We would have to look at your particular setup of Salesforce.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jane. And sorry for the technical errors at the beginning.
No, that's no problem at all.
There is a question about slides, but I'll reach out to you. And if you're happy to share them, then
absolutely, I am. And I'm also happy to provide an accessible version if people want that as well.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. And then, yeah, I'll be in contact and the slides can be available. I'll just be sharing them on the event chat. So that's just the answer to your question, Lindsay. But thank you so much for your time, Jane.
No, thank you for having me. It's been great.
Amazing. Thank you. That's the session ended. There's more lunch and learn sessions, so please join us there. Thank you again, Jane, and thank you, Sloan, for your BSL application. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.